Hello. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey,
Hi, Damien.
hi, hey everyone. How are you? Nice to.
Good. Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to
Sounds
see you
good.
back. Good. Don't know why, but it's good
Yeah,
to start
yeah.
here. Have this talk.
Yeah, interesting. Hello, everyone. We would like to welcome you for a new episode of the Day After Tomorrow, Season 2 for Kogya. As you remember, we are talking about AI, technologies related to this new emerging technologies and how this might impact our business. Today, we have a new episode with Elisa. Lisa will talk with us about empowering teams for AI and how to get the teams ready of using the AI and all of the change that will happen on our organizations to utilize using AI. Just let me start introduce you, Alyssa, in very short introduction, and definitely I'll allow you to share more thoughts about your experience and background. So we have Alyssa. She is an HR strategist and thought leader and transformation advisor on a mission to build future-ready organizations on a global scale. Then through human-centric change and human always is affecting organizations. That's why we have Elisa with us today. Hi, Elisa. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me. Well, and
Thank you.
Nice
thanks.
intro.
Yeah, I know. I'm guessing a lot of times your podcasts and guests are more talking about the technology side. So I'm really excited to kind of talk about those other challenges that can come into play,
Yes.
and I'm sure lots of people are experiencing. And my company, SuccessBridge, is really focused on helping companies move out of cookie cutter solutions and really customize things that work. Right, trying to identify those barriers and things that are getting in the way of the growth and success that they want to achieve. So I'm thrilled to have a discussion and hear from you guys and share what I'm hearing and hopefully provide some good insights to the audience.
Wish.
Perfect. That's great. That's a very adding value for our definitely episodes. And as you said, technology is important, but without the human factor to utilize using this technology, nothing will happen. Let's start. Let's start our big important thing for you, Elisa. What are you trying to solve with your business, with your value? What is the exact implications or the influence with your work on the organizations and on anyone has an organization or lead the business?
Yeah, yeah. So what SuccessBridge, my company, is all about is helping organizations and the people in them move toward meaningful and lasting change. Um, we see a lot of companies really investing in the technology or thinking that that's going to magically change a lot of other things, but it doesn't. And oftentimes that crucial element of the workforce is overlooked. And the reality is, I think we all know that the world is changing, and change isn't new. The world's always been changing. Work has always been changing, but we're entering this really exciting new era, and life is largely inseparable from technology. But what we're seeing and when we're out in the field is that many companies and people are really struggling to balance the realities of day to day with planning and preparing for the future. It's just a lot to take in. There's a lot changing, and it's hard to know where to start. So I'm kind of there to help fill in that gap and solve that mismatch between the vision, right, and the reality of really making it happen through people, right? Organizations, technology alone won't create the change. It will happen with the people as well.
Yeah, that makes totally sense. I remember one of our projects and clients after we finalized a lot of things related to the AI implementation and transformation. But we realized and they realized that the decision was coming from the top management without preparing the team members on the change that is coming. And surprisingly, this was a bottleneck to start execute using the AI solution that we have built for them. That's very important.
Yeah, and each time we put it in, even like in the first uh moments of like with clients or prospects or whatever, even during the proposal we always try to turn it like how the human will use it. So we
Mhm.
have to break it down in steps. It's just not technical. What can it, because technically now is AI like that, you can almost do anything, but it's, yeah, it's about human adoption. So that's why we like to have Alisa come in and try to solve all these things. Alisa, you
Yeah.
post a lot on social medias, and you do your talks that were also we met when you speak, and it was very interesting during like the conference, and you talk a lot about future of work. It's a big and interesting concept. Can you tell me more about it, and about that? Is it your own words, or can you explain?
I wish that was mine, but no, someone else coined the phrase. I actually don't even know who did, but it sounds great and it's really exciting. But you're right, it's really vague and nebulous and kind of buzzwordy.
How
So
do you reuse it? Yeah.
yeah. But the reality is, it's about a couple things. Recognizing that the landscape has changed. That's the first step. We need to be aware that things are different and how we work and how we will make money, how we'll interact and serve the communities that we're a part of. And then it's about designing new ways for people to contribute. And so that adaptability and readiness are really the key parts, both on the business side and the people side. What we see in the HR space is that old practices don't work. People don't want the same things out of their business experience, and businesses are wanting something else from people. And that's what the future of work is all about. How can we think creatively and prepare a little bit more proactively versus trying to catch up in the background while people are struggling and businesses are bleeding money or stalling their growth. So for employees, you're moving from more like task-oriented roles to that more innovative, creative mindset, continuous learning and things like that. But for employers, it's that wholesale redesign of reporting structures, of how work gets done and flows across teams, and how technology fits in with those human components. So there's just a lot there. But as they say, what got you here won't get you there. And that's what the future of work is all about. What is that new thing that'll get us there?
Totally. And honestly, even us internally, we face it. Like we've put in a team, so we worked in the IT, like digital transformation for many years. Now we're really on AI transformation and building AI stuff and so on. So we have the team, but the concept of the team with project manager, UI UX designer, developers, and we realize right now using new tools to this new future with the AI capabilities, we're asking different things from the role that was, for example, before project manager. We're asking our expectation is totally different. So we're kind of redefining like these roles internally, even for the UI UX designers and all that. Amido Mohamed's smiling because but we're redefining the roles of everyone, even the developers and all that. So it's an incredible moment of time when we take it, but it's not disappearing what they're doing. It's not, but it's redefining. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
future. It's different, and our expectation, us as business owners, as you also, is different from before for each role. So it's also a big shift for us because we have to readapt our methodology of what we were doing 10 years ago. It's totally, or even 5 or even 3, it's totally changing, and we see this really big shift now.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah, I
like you
Challenging.
think
have to like pause and ask yourself why. Like, why am I doing this? Or why do we use this job description? And just starting to question a little bit more before we just instinctively do, so that we're not unconsciously repeating things that really don't work or are irrelevant.
Yeah, that's very true. Let me add as well, this is not only on the tech side, even on the business side, on the
Yeah.
investment side. We had many conversations with multiple
Consulting.
friends and clients. Yeah, and consulting. Yeah, the all the businesses and work is shifting now, and we are resetting everything on how the next steps are going there. That takes me to the next point, where when we have you with us, definitely we are talking about more the human value. But let me ask you, what does a human-centric AI transformation really mean? Because sometimes is it the conflict between the AI versus human, or there is some way of collaboration? Is there a rule of for the human to focus on him, or focus on the human importance in the process of this transformation to adopt and use AI? What do you think about this?
Yeah. And I think the challenge is helping people take a step back and not see AI and people as being diametrically opposed, because they're not. they both need each other in order to
Yeah.
get to the right outcomes. And so a human-centered AI transformation is really about putting the focus on people first, right? On those skills, mindsets, behaviors, and cultures that are underlying. And as well as anyone else, when you build models internally for companies, those types of inputs are influencing how the model works, right? It's taking in all that data on how the people work. So if you're not involving them, right, and thinking about those human elements, you inadvertently get in the way and prevent that scale and implementation of the technology to its fullest potential. And the reality is, I'm sure you guys have quoted a lot of stats. I've seen a lot of stats, but companies are spending millions and millions of dollars on some of these initiatives. But in some cases, very few, like single-digit percent success rates, and actually seeing those financial benefits that they wanted to see. And a lot of it is really just the people side. It wasn't focused on, people don't understand the role that they're supposed to play, or they don't even feel empowered to do the things that they could do. So there's really just a lot more gains on the table to be gained for the people and for the business when you take a step back and focus on people and not just technology.
Yeah, and when do you see like the AI adoption efforts trying to start to break down? How do you like implement a talent strategy or change that for that outcome? Like, what do you recommend when you see that coming? What you were saying.
Yeah. So, the first thing is kind of taking a step back and say, does your company have a talent strategy to begin with? Is there that long-term game plan on a holistic level, or are you just doing people tasks here and there? So that's kind of the first step. Take that holistic view and say, do we have a strategy here for now versus in the future? And then start to really look for common breakdown areas. I start to see it in like integration or in measurement. Maybe they're not even measuring, or people don't understand the benefit of the AI. They're not talking about it in different places. So by starting to address those holistic challenges of how are we talking about it, how are we adopting it, how does it actually integrate in people's work, you start to overcome some of those breakdowns over time.
Yeah, that's totally when there's this when you see like there's this breakdown. I agree on the talent strategy, because we need you need talent, and we see it. We were getting back to the future of work, and now talent, creativity, thinking outside the box is even more important than before, because the tasks are done basically, a lot of things can be done by AI. So now it's about chasing the good talents to push all this technology, these people that will execute these tasks even more. But for this, we need like creative mindsets, which is you have to go and get these talents, and we see, and this is where I think the business will be able to make a difference. If you're able to have these talents inside your company that understands all that and be able to add really a human value on the top of the technology, that's where the business can have like a really different value proposition even inside and process in their organization.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think that's for the important factor to adopt using AI, or even any kind of new or emerging technology, will be the mindset of the team members, the leaders, the all the human are working or committed to this business. Let me ask you this question: How do you think can team members to identify if their mindsets are getting in the right direction of this AI transformation or any kind of new technology transformation or adoption? How, for us as human being or team members, we can measure this in our mindsets?
Yeah, there are a couple different ways. And I think sometimes when we're in a career and we become experts, we kind of get trapped in only thinking about our tasks and not thinking about holistically. So the first thing is take a step back and are you really thinking about the business implications, whether it's of the AI technology or even of your talent interventions? Can I tie it to true business results? But a way that you can start to see if those mindsets are getting in the way is it's going to show up in the data that you already have and you already collect. So there are telltale signs that will show up in engagement scores if your company regularly measures engagement. And maybe there's a question on there about work happens efficiently. If those scores aren't good or they're getting worse, you probably have a sign, right, that there's potentially a mindset shift or a gap there. You'll also see it in just the conversations that are happening, whether it's water cooler talk, right, or informal meetings. There will be a sense of fear, questioning, analysis paralysis, just, feeling kind of frozen or constantly questioning or resisting versus looking for answers. So that's where you can start to see some of those mindset pieces. And managers play a really big role here. You spend so much time with your manager. They help you develop and craft your career path and help you set your business goals. So for managers to be equipped to kind of do those mindset audits, for lack of a better term, take a look at your team, kind of get a feel for who's where and why, and then elevate that and integrate that into your broader conversations so that you're facilitating the change longer term versus just waiting to see, right, if it changes for itself.
Yeah, and I getting on it, like I saw you like when you were doing your, even when you talk and when you're in your content, you talk about like building a digital capability in a team. Can you tell what does it what's this definition for you? What does it mean for you for that? And my question after is like what is the starting point to put that in place? So after explaining, can you tell us, yeah, how would be like the first thing you would do to start building this digital capability in your company through a team?
Yeah, so let's start with, the first thing is kind of getting a lay of the land of where you are. So many companies hire for a laundry list of skills, but they don't really have a clear way for capturing the skills that people brought in and the skills that they're learning on the job. It lives in people's heads or in their experience or on performance reviews that are buried on a piece of paper somewhere. So when you're looking to build digital capability, there are a couple ways it can come through. It's on, are they aware of those things happening outside when it comes to technology? Do they know how to leverage data and other insights to influence decisions? Right? Are they able to navigate with agility? Do they know the tools that the team is using, right? And are they thinking ahead about new tools, right, that could be coming? So there's a lot there, but the challenge that I've seen is a lot of companies are really focused on the technical side of the digital capability, and they're skipping like the critical thinking, the adaptability, that ability to influence with data and make judgment calls. That's really important to get there.
And so you start basically like an assessment, more overall assessment, and because you're saying like sometimes like companies tend to skip this part and say, oh, we're going to do AI transformation and all that, and you forget like the basics of assessing what you're doing, what you know, and yeah, and what's
what
your
you have
human
on the
resources.
table.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
you have on the table, as you said. But you know what? I saw that in I will not name it, but I saw that in the digital transformation when we were doing like consultancy. There was two big companies that were working together. One of them was trying to do like a merging acquisition through digital transformation. They wanted to buy to do an acquisition of a startup, and this company was like existed like 50 years or whatever. So they had tools, digital tools, and all that. And they said, "Oh, we're going to do an acquisition of this startup." And then when I came in, but they were talking like since a year on it and all that. And the basic was that they didn't even check if their own technology was able to connect with the
Right.
new acquisition of the startup. And it was like, oh, and you were right. They didn't start from the simple thing. It was, oh, we want because we have to, and it could grow, but the basics were not here. So you had to step back, and all these conversations, it was almost break down at once because this first, as you were saying, this build your or understand your digital capability was not done from the day one.
Well,
That's
and to your point, like a lot of times assumptions get made in those cases. They may say, well,
Mhm.
we don't have people with these
Yeah.
skills. But I strongly disagree with that. I have seen people who you wouldn't think have that digital capability, and they get put in a box, or they're not the star performer that gets pulled in on everything, but they're actually the people who end up owning and driving a lot of these process changes and technology implementations because they actually have the capability. They're just not the loud visible ones. And so often organizations aren't really focused on that combination of build, buy, or borrow talent. they're all just focused on buy. I want to go buy this unicorn employee that
Yeah.
may not ever exist, right? Because the technology is changing so fast, and not to mention the fact that every other company wants that unicorn employee too. The talent you have that you need is largely already in the building. You just haven't invested in it in the right way, or you haven't
True.
enabled them in the right way. And that's a tough pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but it's how we move forward. Is just these people are excellent resources. Teach them, give them space to learn, build.
Yeah, but it's not easy also, or
Yeah.
it's a job to be able to detect also, oh, this one has this capability, this one is good at this, or it's not so easy because sometimes when you're in it, so that's what we need experts like you, Alyssa, to come and detect. You have to come in house and
Yeah.
we'll give you do a little detective. Normally it's
You know,
I'm the detective,
sometimes
but
when you are inside the thing, you cannot see the details. You might get an external eye to check, and that and by the way, then our transformation methodology for AI, the 3 steps methodology, we built it like this. We built it from the team when we saw some challenges, and we started to dig deeper with them on the details and how they are using the AI, what are the tools that they are using, and we realized that that could be a framework, and we can educate the clients using it, and it works like this. And this takes me to the next question regarding, yet now we defined the tools that the organization is using. We defined, we might define as well the challenges that we might not have the current capability, either the team or even the tools or the technology that we internally use. But my question, what are the proven methodologies or steps you think that organizations can reinforce and use to lead this change, or to convince, or even to educate the team and invest in their capabilities to change their mindset and get them more ready for the next change?
Yeah, great question. And this is something that I'm really focused on and is a big driver at SuccessBridge. We have a couple different models and workshops that we use to help people get to that. So starting, as you mentioned, with an assessment. So what is our digital dexterity on an index? And that assessment, doing so without judgment, right? It's not that anyone's bad or good. We're all on this spectrum and we're all constantly moving. And then reinforcing those mindsets really starts with, one, do people know where they can make decisions and what role they play in the complexity of a system? I always like to recommend start by getting really clear on what we would call decision rights. Do people have the ability to go and try new things, to make decisions in their role? Or is everything kind of going up through this approval chain that's kind of confusing and muddying your speed to adoption? And then try different strategies. So here are a few that I think work really well. Do some micro experiments. So let people just take small, very low risk, right, experiments to pilot or just try something new, right? It starts to develop that, it removes some of that fear and starts to develop that learning concept. And then there's the idea of job crafting. And there's a lot to job crafting. But the idea is people can kind of reshape their roles based on the things that they're good at and the things that they're interested in. So why
yeah,
not?
I want to do also
Right.
want to do, like, are attracted to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if someone is a subject matter expert and really loves crunching numbers, let them go do that within a safe level in their role, and tie it to different business outcomes, and then they can bring other people along. So that's where collaborative communities of practice, I think, are a really, really strong way to do that as well. Let people kind of self-governing in largely ways get together in groups and share across silos. And then it's not, to your point earlier, being pushed down from the top. It's not foreign. It's being driven by the people, and they're starting to share things that may benefit each other. And then finally, it comes down to role modeling. Are the people who are driving the change actually demonstrating those behaviors? If we're not doing that, right? If the leaders in charge aren't going out and saying, I don't know how to use Power BI, but I'm going to go try to build a scorecard. I'm going to prove that it can be done, right? A lot of that modeling, I think, is a critical way to start to change those mindsets over time.
And how do you measure? Because when you put that in place, like the C levels or top management will ask, like, okay, what's the impact on my investment, AI investment? How do you measure these transformation effort? Do you have like a special trick or a methodology around that, or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you tend to measure? Oh, you did this. We had this. Yeah, this impact. And
Well, it kind of starts with, are you making it visible? So do people see people being rewarded and recognized for the type of work that's being done? So you'll start to see it in internal mobility. Promotions will be tied to people who are demonstrating the right mindset. Rewards and special projects would go to those people. And you would have visible KPIs where the team can see at any time what's green, yellow, and red. And let's not, let's dispel the myth that everything has to be green in a project, right? That's toxic as well, and a whole different podcast we could talk about. But I see a transformation scorecard really consisting of like 3 different components. The people-focused KPIs, right? Are their capabilities changing? Are people reporting new skills? Are we attracting people with new skills? Are they engaged? Then there's process-focused KPIs. So what is our speed to impact? Are we being productive? Are our systems consistent or better because of these AI tools we're using? And then finally, performance-based, which are those business outcomes. Is our revenue per employee going up? Right? Are we actually driving business results? Are our projects leading to the ROI that we thought it would? And the business growth, product expansion, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Everything is related. Sometimes there's a misconception. Oh, we're putting AI. It will I don't know, give you sales revenue, which sometimes can. But the most thing is, if you take it the other way around, okay, we're implementing AI to go faster on some tasks and to be more efficient. So that means you can push your sales team to get new project because you'll have the capability of handling more projects, more services, or whatever you're selling. So that's taking the other way, and this can have a big impact. But if you do it and don't think that, okay, but I can go faster, be more efficient, but I won't push the sales team and marketing team to get more inbound leads or prospect to increase the rate, your ROI will not be seen so much. Oh yeah, you were more efficient, but right, yeah, but it's not due to the AI or the technology on the action you did. It's because on your strategy or human behavior, you didn't push on the other side to push the business to come in more on regarding the impact. So it's everything is related, your efforts, and how to measure that. So it's kind of not complicated, but it's something to put in and to make the organization realize that. Or if you're on the supply chain thing, okay, same thing. Okay, I will enable to go faster and to automate your supply chain. But if you don't push on putting more products coming in the supply chain, it will not have the impact you want, or the business impact that's needed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, to your point, it's not just about efficiency. I think the word
Yeah.
efficiency is what scares a lot of people. It makes them inadvertently resist the change. There's so much more. You're finding new opportunities. You're touching new customers. The growth metrics are the things I think that are important. The efficiency metrics help you get there, right? And are signals to whether or not you're going to be able to unlock those growth metrics.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I guess one of the important factors to drive any change in any organization is to make it a mindset way, like a long-term or a sustainable practice, to be in the DNA of the organization and the business leaders. So how do you think can the HR and business leaders collaborate to make this transformation is a sustainable practice or a long-term thing, like a habit inside the organization, not just a one-time project?
And I like that word habit, right? It's how do you make something a little bit more instinctive and less of just this, hey, we're doing this big
consistency. Yeah.
Right. It's integrate it into the fabric of how you talk about things. So integrate it into the narratives about success in the business. Make transformation and continuous learning and iteration part of everyone's job description, right? If people aren't given ownership and accountability for a thing, they won't be driven to focus on it, right? We focus on the things that we're rewarded for. So there has to be this continuous cycle of assessing, all right, where are we at? Where did we think we were going to be? Then iterating, piloting, trying new things, and we're going to tweak this here or there, see what happens, we'll measure it, and then re-embedding those new things. And that's challenging, right? Because not everyone has worked in that technology space where you've had agile and
Yeah.
sprints and this mindset. Accountants, HR people, we're used to, a lot of people are used to, you have this project, you go through these checklists, it's a very slow moving, arduous process. And so flipping that mindset to think about constantly evolving and being okay with the fact that things aren't going to stay the same and things will fail is part of making that sustainable and getting regular feedback on how it's working.
Okay, yeah. And if I go a little bit like deeper in your role or in the HR, without talking, okay, we're going to put that in place to change or to do AI transformation, but how AI internally helps the HR to enable the change readiness or upskill the workforce itself, but internally how yourself can use AI to do that, because
Yeah.
not in do you
Yeah. And with, HR is a great example, right? And anyone can apply it, like I said, to their own job. But when you think about the data that's available on talent in many organizations, it's kind of all over the place. As I mentioned earlier, you may have some performance reviews on Word docs or handwritten things. You may not actually have any skill information beyond the information you collected when the person first applied, right? And maybe succession plans and development plans are kind of tracked in all these disparate places. The cool thing about AI is that it solves the challenge. For so long, I think HR folks have struggled with, it's this huge lift. How do we connect our HRIS, our talent information system, with the finance system and with this system and all these other manual processes? Well, so long as it exists in these systems, AI can take all those complexities and look across functions and look across silos and digest that to tell a story about the people you have, both
I follow that.
individually, and from a trending perspective. You get into scenario planning on workforce. You get into kind of looking into predictive business cases and modeling different things that I think can be really helpful. And the reality is, people could even do it themselves right now. So you could go into your favorite LLM and just say, hey, I want to check my mindset. So here's a prompt I wrote down. Let's see. Based on
You're
trends,
directly on it.
yeah. Identify 3 to 5 tasks that are common to my role in whatever your role is, right, that are likely to become obsolete, automated, or significantly change. There's no reason why, right, managers and HR people and all of us can't be starting to look out ahead and get that information. Let the AI interview you. Let it help you challenge and think about that work.
Yeah.
And
I think,
in HR,
as you were, and I think you were saying, you raised something interesting, that you can use it like individually, like as the AI for like this, and kind of read all the, I don't know, an employee that was here during 10 years, like being able to take all the history and all his annual review for the HR to be put in place, and maybe have like a new plan, or, oh, he needs a change right now. The AI can do that. But I see also the AI could reply, tell me if everything's possible for me on AI, but and also connect the dots for the whole company regarding all the individuals, and come up with a plan or a restructure of the company or organization. I think it can give inputs after you apply it or not. That's where the human behavior and touch is important. It's take the information that you ask, that you prompt, as you said, or gather through a private database, RAG, whatever. That's not the good technical, but do that and connect the dots inside the AI. That's where I think it's you raise something interesting, individual, but also to have like a strategy that AI can guide you and go faster, taking the decisions. I think. You can tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
you're the expert.
you're absolutely right. It takes the assumption making out of it, right?
Yeah.
So often those conversations are like, well, I
Mhm,
think we don't have talent in this space, or I don't think we've got someone who could do this, or this project, I don't think we've got anybody who can do the project. Well, you can set it up to pair people up with projects, post a project, and then use AI to pull through all that data and say, oh gosh, Karen over here is actually really interested in this, and 5 jobs ago, she developed this skill. you probably wouldn't know that. Her manager may not know that because it was a
Yeah.
past skill.
Or
Right?
they change, or it's not the same people that interview, and they will not go through the
Yeah.
documents because they don't have time, or these kind of things. Or and you can even ask the AI. That's a good prompt. What's the future of work for this person?
Right. Yeah.
If you train the AI understanding what is future of work, your definition of future of work, then you have your prompt. It's a free gift for the audience, for
Yeah.
the HR people.
Absolutely. And and when it takes when AI takes away some of the more repetitive tasks and we're all asked to operate at a higher level, like do the work that we were actually hired to do, right? And that expertise, just that change in mindset and capability will enhance people's skills because we won't have that ability to just zone out and do the copy paste stuff anymore. That'll be
Mhm.
gone. We'll have to be operating at a higher level, which in turn will enhance some of those other skills that we talked about that people will need to stay competitive in a highly technical world.
Yeah, interesting. I think there's might be another challenge for organizations as well, even if we did everything correct. We did the trainings, we have the assessments, we applied all the procedures or requirements to drive this change smoothly and safely. But sometimes we might stuck. What we might not able. I mean, the organizations they might not be able to get this transformation process properly for any reason. We don't know. My question is, what are the pitfalls that you think companies or organizations might face during this process and this stage of transformation and getting people ready for this change? And how do you think they might face this kind of or avoid this kind of pitfalls or challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there's a little humility involved here, right? Like we all go in dreaming that we're going to do everything perfectly and it's going to, follow exactly according to our plans. But we know that life has different plans and these projects are incredibly complex. So, some of those pitfalls include, thinking in that way, thinking or assuming, right, we have all the answers or that things have to go a particular way. There's also oftentimes prioritizing speed over sustainability, right? Those short-term gains and those long-term gains, you have to be really thoughtful about how you balance those. There's pros in both, but prioritizing one over the other can have long-term effects and the true impact of your investment in it. The other thing that I see a lot is, and we talked about this earlier, is just treating technology as the save-all solution, right? Without thinking of the people implications or involving them and thinking of it as this one-time lift and shift project. Like when we solve this, we'll rip this Band-Aid off, everything will be perfect. So that barrier is not looking at it as that continuous strategy that has to be maintained and updated over time. Let's see. Gosh, other pitfalls. I talked a little bit about making work visible. I've seen a lot of companies where we're not actually measuring or holding people accountable to the skill growth and the skill change. And that's the problem, right? That's going to get in the way. You can't tell the story about how far you've come if you can't actually see how far you've come. Uh, and that gets in the way of your ability to influence and motivate people to try new things.
Yeah, you're right about the measurement. We talked about it, but it's not often, so that's why it's and also the company need people from the outside to be able to guide how to measure because you don't see it, you want to implement, you want to innovate a little bit, so you're trying to do stuff, but then after you forget the basics, as it was previously
Yeah.
on the conversations, and so and what's for you, Alyssa, the biggest opportunity to positively, yeah, disrupt and innovate how work is done? In other words, where can a company start if they want to become like future ready or future of work ready?
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes we overcomplicate these things. So start with what you
Okay.
know. What
I
are
like
the
that.
things,
Simplifying.
right? Start. There are things that your team knows don't work. Do you have them categorized somewhere? Do you understand what those opportunities are? To me, that's a great place to start. And then really start with that role design. Get people thinking about how their roles could be different by looking back over the past and how has it already evolved naturally. right? So get them more comfortable with, I've already done this before, I've been through this before, I've achieved this before. So it's a little less scary to think, oh, well, it could go like this in the future. There's also a really significant need. And as you mentioned, sometimes outside resources are needed. You have to invest in resources to own and drive these things. So if you don't have the skills in-house, or you need someone to help design these things, you have to invest in it. So disrupting starts, right, by acknowledging where you don't have the skill set. And then exploring different internal mobility options. People don't have to follow the straight and narrow ladder of a career. And sometimes our organizational structures are getting in the way. They're too clunky, or they have too many layers, or maybe they're too wide and people have too many direct reports, so they can't actually do anything. Just getting really clear on how and why we have things structured the way they are is the first step. And then committing to that action, like I said, through resource investments or other.
Yeah, being sustainable, like to commit, and to keep the pace on that.
Yeah. I think I'm the bad guy in the conversation because most of my comments are challenges here, but
You
this
are.
comes to you.
You're
You.
the one that challenge. I'm the one that simplify. That's
I'm
why
the
we're a good
troublemaker
team.
here.
You're the
Okay,
Like, what do you
detective.
mean
Let's
both?
call you detective. A client of us called him, or
I'm
he
the
calls himself
detective.
the detective. He's the detective in the interviews. I'm the one that breaks the stuff, the complexity, and he's the detective. So I break the complexity, then he comes and he detects, and he puts back complexity.
I guess
Yeah,
that is a great call out though on like talent strategy. Because if everyone thinks like Damien, you're not going to be successful. So
Oh,
that's
come
one of
on.
the things when you're
Thank you, Alyssa. Bye
no, but if
bye.
everyone thinks like Muhammad himself, or everyone thinks just like me,
I'm
right?
kidding.
Everyone has to bring different skill
Yeah,
sets, and
yeah,
it's that
yeah,
variety of experience and skill
yeah.
sets that help us get through things, right? And yeah, I didn't mean just you, but I mean any of us. We're better together, right? And
Yeah.
that's what teams and organizations are,
It's
right?
yeah.
So
yeah,
if you get that lay of the land and you can just accept it, like
It's
Hamid's good at this and I'm good at this, and neither of us is good at this other thing, so we're going to have Alyssa come do that. Now we're a rock star team. But if we can't even acknowledge
yeah.
and capture that, you can't
That's
solve
funny
it.
because we had that today. Also, like we were doing some stuff, and we were using, of course, like we use AI internally on some stuff, but then we put our Mohammed Hamido's input, we put like my input, and then we come up with, I don't know, an output for the client. And we had something today where the client said, "How did you guys come up with like this? It's different from the other outputs they had, or informations." And the answer was like a teamwork, like our different points, that we were able to gather it and have something that's different. How do you duplicate that or scale that? Not really. It's because it's our both work using AI, and there's the AI in the middle, of course. But that's how you're right, the magic happens, or the magic formula comes. And this is human behavior, team using AI, because without AI we were not able to maybe do a so sharp output, or as fast as say. But we're adding our both mindset, and it creates, as you were saying, kind of a miracle, business miracles on some stuff. I'm it's too much, but you're right. No, but it's related to, if you're able to do that at a larger scale, if you're in a bigger company, imagine how the company can grow. Or if you're able to leverage this into each individuals with the AI in the middle.
Yeah, you
That's
can
pretty good.
see in the shadowy dark spots, right? The blind spots. It
Yeah.
can help you to say, oh, we don't have enough people with a marketing skill set.
Mhm.
Okay, great. You can then solve that. But you can't solve it if you don't know, right?
true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, my next point, like sometimes business leaders and business owners might think this kind of change or the AI transformation, it can be done on its own, or just giving an order or a direction for their team members, guys, you have to do this thing, or you have to use such a tool. But it's not working like this. But my question for you, why do you think many of AI transformation might fail without having the right people, strategists, or the consultants, or the experts, what call it whatever we want in place in this process of transformation? Why they fail?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to those pitfalls that we talked about. They're failing right? Because they're looking for a quick win, right? Or they're failing to, or they're overly committed to their own outcome without really accepting and understanding the current state, right? So, to your point, challenges. You talked about, like, you focus on challenges. I do too. I see challenges everywhere. And so if people aren't open to what those challenges are and willing to accept them, they're never going to be able to get past them. And there's that certain balance of understanding, right, and be comfortable moving forward when you don't have all the answers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'll get to a more I will not use a fail. I will go on a positive note. No, but no, but how do you like AI is going very fast. There's this, you have to catch up on the speed on the technology, on what's coming in, what's doing, because one thing that's today, it's totally different than 2 months ago. We're talking about months, not even years. And how do you
Sometimes
on
weeks, by the way.
yeah, sometimes days.
Days.
But even us internally, we're getting back because we have so many examples recently. We were talking about days. Something we did last week, for example, thinking we were doing this way, a little bit using AI. Something came up, and it was just days after. Okay, no, we're stopping how we were doing. Now we're doing this way with this tool or way to do it. So how do you balance this speed and at the same time of AI adoption, and at the same time, like the long-term workforce readiness to all that, because it's going so fast? And how do you, okay, but you have to plan that the company is here for a long term or a long time. How can organization balance that? Or what's your recommendation on that, Alyssa?
Yeah, that's really challenging. And I think, the first step starts with do an audit of your processes. So what are some of those processes that take forever, right? And already have inefficiencies in them. So again, go back to the things you already know. So for example, if you know that your company budgeting process takes 6 months, and I'm not making this up because I see a lot of companies that have it, or your whole accounting and finance team and your HR people, everybody's putting these inputs, every manager is working on their budget, then manually updating changes and updating slides and yada, yada. But the budget is going to be wrong when it rolls out because no one can predict the future. Or if you don't have AI in place, right, to help you get better at what that future could be, all that time is wasted. So to me, the balance and the way organizations win is by just sitting back and imagining, if I got just 1 month out of the 6 months of budgeting back, where would my time go? Right. So start by more on the opportunity that you're missing, the opportunity cost of not moving faster. And that will motivate all of us. I think about that all the time for myself. I'm like, gosh, if I weren't doing this, where would my time be going if I could choose?
Yeah. Oh, very good. Like the opportunity cost. Yeah, it's not even the risk of not. Yeah, of missing out. What's the opposite? Yeah, it's huge. Cannot relate, but honestly, it's huge. Or what you're missing out, not going at that speed or space or watching. Companies are missing a lot. But I don't think all of them are, especially big ones. I don't know if they realize this, because it's really, we say it often in the podcast and all that. It's going so fast, so fast. I think it's the first time in maybe human history a change or a revolution is going so fast. If you take agricultural revolution, it was not going so fast. Even industrial revolution, it couldn't go so fast. The machine right now, internet revolution didn't. It went fast, but not here. It's or for me, it's mind blowing. But
it is for organizations to have like a governance idea. What are those things that we're comfortable or that we could move faster on if we change people's mindsets and we change the skills? And what are those things where we really do, for the risk to our company, to the risk to our employees, the risk to our customers, do need to kind of put the brakes on or have extra checkpoints in place and slow it down based on where we are right now. And so that governance conversation, I think, is really critical. And I'm sure you two talk to your customers about that all the time.
Yeah, we even have a solution to manage the AI with the government, because all that, and I take it, I understand too, it can be very overwhelming. Even even us, like what happened, like because a lot of stuff happened on the last day, but we were with Hamida, we were talking, doing some stuff, and changing it can be overwhelming, and we had to take decisions faster. Oh, what do we do on this project to, because we discovered this that we didn't know a few days ago, but we had to take a decision even faster than before, and it can be overwhelming, honestly. So that's why you need a challenge brain and a simplify brain, because if you have like two challenge brain, maybe the decision cannot be taken fast. But we're getting back to human, yeah, make the good human capabilities, skills. Yeah, very very interesting. Yeah,
I think
can be a lot.
you raised a very important point, Alisa. We were using the same concept when we tried to show the value of using the AI is the opportunity cost. Imagining businesses how much opportunities they are missing, not because they are not capable enough to serve these opportunities or clients, but just because they don't understand their actual capability and how they can optimize this capability. Nothing new will happen, or no new investment you need to invest, or no expansion plan you need to do. It's just to know your current capability, and there is a magical tool called AI. It can accelerate this current capability without any extra investments. That's a magic word, like calculating the missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that can have an impact on your margin, because now
Yeah.
using these kind of things, you can, okay, maybe you will not be, let's say, faster, or which I think you will be faster, but at the same time, you will maybe not use these kind of skills or other things you were doing. So your margin, it will have an impact of your margin. So the opportunity you're missing, or yeah, the time, margin, new deals. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I
Oh, and
think. Yeah. Go
oh,
ahead.
guys, I was going to comment. So I mentioned a prompt. We had a comment from someone. I think it was a good one. Tom mentioned, being careful
Yeah,
about
we
advocating
can
for
say it. See,
obsolescence. Yeah, and I think
Tom,
that is great and
tackle.
This one.
super thoughtful, Tom.
Yeah.
I think the
Thanks
idea
for tackling
is
my prompt, Tom. We'll talk this outside of the social media. We'll
no,
have a private conversation.
I think it's great. And like these are the conversations we need to
Yeah,
have. Like why money?
yeah,
What are
exactly.
the impacts of the things that we're doing? And everyone has to use their own judgment on that, I'd say.
Yeah,
For me, the thing is, when you're asking the AI to help you think, I think of it more, and my intent was more around research that's out there. And you maybe have blind spots too. So because I have done HR for so long, it's hard for me to unknow what I know. Right. And there's already information. There are already companies out there changing the way that that work could be done, or tools coming onto the market. And there's publicly available information on that. I just may not have time, right, to consolidate all that information. So the
yeah,
exercise
I
is
think
more
so.
about opening my mind to what are the things that I'm taking for granted. And maybe that's a better way, right, to use the prompt is what are the things that I'm taking for granted that maybe I should rethink so that I don't find myself unprepared when suddenly no one's hiring me to do that task anymore. Right. Or I don't have the skill set to do that task somewhere else because I've been doing it this way for so long. But thank you, Tom, for bringing that up. I think that's a really good call out.
Can you bring him in to do that? And we need the next hour to start to debate.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, Damien, is like none of us can predict what this is going to look like, right? This is just some smart, experienced people talking about what we've seen and what we know and solving for it and helping people get that iterative mindset. But it goes back to iterative mindset. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, and we don't know what will happen 5 years from now. We're trying to be reasonably prepared with the information experience we have. And outside of that, it's getting that resilience to change and fear built up so that you can just take it all in and flex and pivot over and over and over.
Yeah, and we're starting to be endless, but I like to, and I mean, just giving me the benefit of that, because I like to close with this big open question is like how what's your two things in one, and you'll finish with that, Alyssa. Yeah, give us like your overall big vision of all this. in your work, like you can be very broad, and then at the end, how can how can people want to connect and learn more about you so that you can wrap up. So the end is on you, Alyssa. No stress.
Oh, all right, all right. You know, I'm gonna wax a little more philosophical on my closing then with that. I
Okay.
envision a future where people are doing the things that they dreamed of, right? That we're actually maximizing the skills that we can bring and understanding our full potential, and technology is helping us do that. And it'll be different, and we're going to have to get uncomfortable. We're going to have to try new things to get there. But I do think there's so much opportunity for access to knowledge, right? For changing the way that we work and collaborate together, to changing the way that we do business, that will lead to more prosperity for people in different spaces. And to your point, just like the Industrial Revolution or every other revolution, we are all going to have to change.
Yeah.
None of us will go through untouched, but I think that that's exciting. I understand there are risks to it as well, and people have concerns. But yeah, my vision is we come out better. Workforces are more resilient. People recognize their power and their capabilities, and we're all just choosing one action every day, something that we can do to change and improve our workplace and ourselves. So if people want to talk to me more about this, you can tell I'm super passionate and energetic about it. We can talk for hours. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Alyssa Borden. I'm on LinkedIn. You can email me at alyssa@successbridge.net. And if you want, I've got a little playbook. It's just a couple pages of some diagnostics that you can quickly go through to assess your digital dexterity and your uncertainty fluency levels that I'm happy to email to folks if you just send me a message on LinkedIn directly.
Cool. And then if we have questions on our side, we'll pass it over to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, excited to work together on the next project because we have our plans too. So we're excited about that all together.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa. That brings us to the end of today's conversation. A huge thank you for you, Alyssa, for your insights, expertise, and vision. And thank you everyone who was watching us during the live on our channels. If anyone need to replay this kind of conversation, it will be available on our channels, Kugia channels, and the audio version will be published very soon on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone. And thank you, Alyssa. Thank you. It was a great time.
Yeah.